With the chill in the air and the snow on the ground, at least in some parts of the northern hemisphere. I guess if you're in the southern hemisphere with the sun splitting the rocks because it's summer down there, we get to the end of the year once again, which means it's that time of year when we look at the best and worst, of course, for 2024. Those that have been around the channel for the last number of years realize how this will go. We will do today the top 10 best Transformers of 2024 as voted on by fans. Next week will be the top 10 worst Transformers of 2024 as voted on by fans. And then we will round out the year with my personal top 10 best and my personal top 10 worst. And then before you know it, we're going to be right into 2025. That's kind of the way that this goes. My list probably going to be very different from the fans' list, probably very different from your list, because we all got our favorites and the ones we like the least, but it's always interesting to see what lands where. So without any further ado, the top 10 best Transformers of 2024 as voted on by fans. That's our focus this time around in the latest GotBot Counts Down. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share. Of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. Helps me out a ton, let you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that's in the description down below. Also in the description down below, and if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link, check us out on Patreon, see what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. So, what does this year's list include? Basically, it will include everything from Legacy United. It will include a number of things from Studio Series. I can't remember for sure where the cutoff was from last year as I'm recording this. Normally I have that looked up by now. But I did check to see anybody that voted for anything from Studio Series or 86 or anything like that. I did check to make sure that it was released in 2024 because a couple of people tried certain votes for 2023. For example, there were a couple of votes for 86 Ultra Magnus. That was a 2023 release, not 2024, so it wouldn't count for this year. The only one that sort of spans 2023 and 2024 because of its staggered release would be Death Source. A lot of people included him in their 2023 list because he arrived in December. Somebody like myself, for example, didn't get theirs until February, so for me, Death Source couldn't have counted last year. It might be able to count this year because I didn't get mine until February, right? And so something like that would span both, right? Yeah, so let's do the honorable mentions and get those out of the way. Honorable mentions include Legacy United Vector Prime. I like it. A lot of people have had some complaints about it being too small and the shoulder pads being too small. DNA Design is doing an upgrade kit for it that looks really, really great, honestly. I might even get it, to be honest with you. We'll see. But it very much makes him a little bit bigger and makes him look a lot more like his original. Legacy United Sandstorm. Again, quite light for a leader class, but the engineering there is really good and all three modes are pulled off really, really well. I would venture to say one of, if not the most successful of the triple changers that they've done. I do feel like the Autobot ones, him and Springer, while still overpriced, have been more successfully accomplished than Blitzwing and Astro Train, honestly. Tigerhawk. Tigerhawk is so wild. I skipped him when I saw him in January. Didn't see him again until the summer. And I ended up getting him then. I wasn't sure how I felt about it because he was such a wacky, asymmetrical hodgepodge. But man, he's glorious. Really glorious. Lunar Cruiser Optimus Prime. It was certainly a different take on Optimus. But you know what? If you're into space, if you're into Transformers, what a great marriage of those two ideas. And Cybertron, Legacy United Cybertron Hot Shot. A lot of people said it was really good. I think he would have had more votes if he was different enough from the original. A lot of people said, it's not that much of a departure from the original. I don't know if it is an upgrade as much as a lateral move. All of those had the exact same number of votes. They did not rank on the list. So again, Vector, Sandstorm, Tiger Hawk, Lunar Cruiser Optimus Prime, and Hotshot. Everything but the Lunar Cruiser was from Legacy United. And the Lunar Cruiser, of course, was a Takara product that was a crossover. I think it was a Takara product. They didn't make the list. You know what we're going to do? We're going to do as we always do. And we're going to kick things off with number 10, my friends. Burst. Coming in at number 10 is a mold that's appeared on the list before, and I got a feeling it'll appear on the list again next year. But for now, it's Straxus. So, when I say the mold, of course, it already appeared on the list for me a couple of years ago as Galvatron. I'm willing to bet it will appear for a lot of people on their list next year as part of the 86 line when it's released again as Galvatron. But this year we got the mold, of course, with some changes, as Straxus in the comic book line. And this is splendid. Really splendid. Like, I liked the Generations Dark mount. That was a deluxe, but I always felt like it was too small. But this one with the speckling that's indicative of the dots on old comic books, with the highlight that's not too egregious, it's just a little highlight, just enough to give it a bit of detail, and with that terrifying head sculpt that almost feels like half a head with those black dead eyes. This is not only a terrifying iteration of Straxus, but because of the mold that's used, it's a big, bulky presence on the shelf, along with the bright red and blue that makes up his color palette. I think that this was the right mold to use. Even when you go to the alt mode, as much as it looks like a flying cannon, it's accurate. It's accurate to what the G1 comic book version was. An excellent mold, the right size for this guy, an excellent transformation, phenomenal articulation, and a color scheme that is absolutely stellar. Probably the best of the comic book releases, arguably. Certainly, for me, the best of the comic book releases. I agree with the fans that he deserves to be on this list, and Straxus takes the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9, we have this guy. It is the Studio Series concept art Bumblebee movie Sunstreaker. And I don't know this mold. I've seen it, and I think it looks really cool. And if you want to have a Sunstreaker with a Cybertronian mode, I think that, again, this looks really cool. A lot of people said, look at the design of the like roof and windshield and stuff. Just that design alone is excellent. I personally like his lower legs and feet because they feel tough and bulky. At the same time, this retains a lot of the style and sleekness that we know and love about Sunstreaker. I think, as vain as Sunstreaker is, if he saw himself with this alt mode, he'd still think he looks pretty great. As for the functionality, a lot of people say he's very well articulated, and the transformation is just plain fun, with a great looking robot and a great looking vehicle mode. I can't speak to it firsthand, but who am I to argue with the voters when they put Sunstreaker at the number 9 slot? Coming in at number 8, we have this guy. It is the Legacy United Deluxe class Optimus Prime. And a lot of people said the exact same thing about this. It is clever, it is cute, it is cool. It is a nice homage to the original toy version from way back in the 80s. I agree. And one thing that a lot of people said that voted for this is, if you can't afford or see your way clear to get the missing link Optimus, then this is a great stand-in for an updated, articulated version of that original Optimus look. I agree. I mean, I'm not, I'm a cartoonist king guy, so this doesn't necessarily speak to me, but I gotta believe that somebody like our buddy Input, shout out to Input, that this gotta speak volumes to him, and to others that want that nostalgia feel. Yeah. Legacy United Deluxe class Optimus Prime takes the number 8 slot. Now, number 7 is a mold that I haven't experienced either, but I've heard the hype. And who am I to argue with? This concept art Megatron. A lot of people said the same thing. If you don't have the select Super Megatron, this is a great stand-in because he does both the plane mode and the other, a tank, I think, mode. And the robot with the huge fusion cannon, I guess it is, on his arm. I guess it's still a fusion cannon. Like, looks really good. A lot of people also admitted that the plane mode and the tank mode look kind of janky. You can tell it's a robot with his parts folded up. But then you get to the meat of the guy, which is the robot mode. And he looks like a big threat. He has stupendous articulation. Paint head to toe everywhere. So much molded in detail. Considering that this was based on some concept art that just showed the front of Megatron. That's all that was ever devised. Everything else was just free and open. Man, oh man, while you wanted to encapsulate that concept art from the front, you were able to kind of work everything else around it. And what ended up being released is one of the most renowned Megatrons we've ever had. People love this guy. I don't know if you do. I can't speak to it because I don't know it. But you know what? Enough fans love this guy that he took the number 7 slot. Man, I really liked the Legends class offering. But at number 6 we have Gears, the Deluxe class Legacy United Gears. And it's hard to argue with how good this is, honestly, and how well it turned out. It's funny, I liked the Legends. I thought it was fine, even though it was somewhat stylized and didn't quite look like Gears. I thought the Mech Fans toys was really great, even though that, I think, lacked a thigh swivel. Then we have this Deluxe. A bit small for a Deluxe, but man, the engineering here is really clever. At the same time, kind of simple, but like the chest becomes the back of the vehicle. Kind of cool. Now, I also like how the chest opens up. I still got to paint in here. I wish it had been painted. The head sculpt is perfect. The articulation is great. And while you can store the blaster like on the side or on the roof or whatever, if you turn the fist kind of like I have it here, you can actually store it under the vehicle, out of the way. Excellent articulation, a spot-on look for the character, a fun transformation that results in a very serviceable, great-looking truck. Granted, the side doors could have probably been a little bit cleaner. And you can even take his accessory and store it underneath the vehicle, out of the way, just like good old-fashioned weapon storage. Yeah, Gears. Definitely a diamond in the rough, and definitely a great mold, whether as this guy or as the GotBot Smallfoot. Any way you cut it. Yeah, he's tremendous. Fans think he's tremendous enough that he was able to take the number 6 slot. And then now a hush falls over the crowd because we've reached the ever-coveted, ever-popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark we have this guy. Missing Link Optimus Prime. Some voted for just the cab that was in the cartoon accurate colors. Some said no, 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 it got to be the cab in the trailer. I just put them all together. This is the second Optimus on the list. Ironically, the first one that was on the list was the Legacy United Deluxe, which a lot of people said is like a budget version of, well, this. I understand the appeal here. I really do. This is what I wanted when I was 5, 6 years old. Now, I feel like me as a collector, I've evolved beyond this. I'm not interested in going back now and getting more articulated G1 molds. It's not what I'm looking for, but I respect that for a lot of people, it hits them right in the feels and right in the nostalgia, while also offering added posability and an added value. I absolutely get it. These are not cheap, which is why a lot of people pointed to the Legacy United. But, undoubtedly, this has to be the Optimus Prime that so many fans, an entire generation or two of fans, wanted back in the day, and now we finally have it. It exists. It's a thing in the world. Missing Link Optimus Prime takes the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, we have a third Optimus on the list with this guy. That's right, the Legacy United animated Optimus Prime. Man, another Optimus. And I recently looked back at the original animated Optimus, the Voyager, as well as the 2 Deluxes. The one that came in the 2-pack with a Deluxe Megatron, and the one that was the Deluxe like Cybertronian mode that I always saw as in Orion packs personally. I have not looked at the Legacy United mold, but when I looked at the original Voyager, as excellent as that is, I asked people then, let me know in the comments, like, how good of an update is the Legacy United? And almost unanimously, people said, yeah, no, the Legacy United is fabulous. It's spectacular. It looks like it jumped off the screen. It's the right shade of every color. Like the blue is this nice periwinkle, like baby blue, that looks perfect. The head sculpt is ideal. The articulation is great. The proportions are great. The transformation is interesting. The resulting truck mode is not only serviceable, but looks really good. You know what? I have to say, while I don't need another Optimus, as soon as I saw this one, I was like, man, they nailed animated Optimus. And not for nothing, I'd say that they've even nailed animated Motormaster too. Animated Optimus Prime, yeah. You know what? Fans dig him, fans love him, and he took the number 4 slot. Now we are into the top 3. Yes, the top 3. And at number 3 we have Studio Series 86 Swoop. And those that voted for Swoop said the same things. Finally, we are concluding the Dinobots. And you know what? A lot of people had feared that Swoop was not going to scale right. He was going to be too small. And while he is light for a leader class by comparison, he is definitely the scale that he should be. The wings are the reason, apparently, that he kept being delayed. He was supposed to be the 3rd one released, then it became the 4th, and finally the last. They had to keep going back and re-engineering the wings, which I think was to its credit, because I think they worked out well. In the review that I did for this guy, I mentioned how after you transform him, give the chest, the 2 sides of the chest, a final squeeze, because they do tab in. Even though that day, it didn't work for me. I think it was because of how hot it was. I think the plastic had swollen a little bit. But I can tell you now, since then, I have tabbed it in, and now both sides of the chest hold just fine. The gold is where it should be, the gray is where it should be, the black is where it should be. I'm glad we got the blue torso, because that's the way the cartoon was. A really clever, fun transformation. I'm glad we got the gold on the head. Yes, Swoop was definitely worth the wait. That's what fans said, and I agree, and that's why Swoop takes the number 3 slot for Best Figure of the Year. Coming in at number 2, we stick with Legacy United and we go Commander Class with Magmatron. If you don't know the character, he is the leader of the Predacons from Beast Wars Neo. He is the leader of the Predacons following Galvatron. Galvatron followed the Megatron that we all know and love. This guy absolutely detested and had a grudge against Big Convoy, which of course is like the woolly mammoth version, right? And I have, thanks to our buddy Eric, I have the anime accurate Big Convoy, and he is supposed to be quite a bit smaller than this guy, actually. So I think the scale actually works out pretty well. I'm sure that we will get a Commander Class Big Convoy at some point for those that want something that's, you know, closer in size to this. The original was great. Pardon me. But this is even more stupendous. What this had to accomplish engineering-wise was insane, because you have 3 very distinct dinos that need to all come together and combine in a solid, serviceable way to be one big robot, which, you know what, we have that. The guy doesn't have a waist, but like, I don't see how you could have put a waist in here. It also has to be engineered for that very strange triple dino combination mode that looks a bit unwholesome, but this guy can even pull that off. The articulation is slightly hindered in a couple of places just because of the kibble, but if you move things out of the way, like, you can really get the range of motion that you want in most things. The asymmetrical nature, the wacky wild color scheme, all of the colors really being where it should be. Everything that they accomplished here to look like the animation at a Commander Class price point is insane. The mass and bulk is here. The transformation and complexity of engineering is here. The paint is here. And honestly, because of the asymmetrical nature of this guy, there's so much that had to be, how can I put this? There's so much that had to be like a new mold. Like, you couldn't just flip it. You could with certain things, but so many pieces here, you couldn't just flip. This is an astounding feat of engineering. And the look is spot on pretty much to the animation. Fans recognize that, and he took the number 2 slot. And now here we are at the very tippy top #1. And I don't think #1 is going to come as a surprise to anyone because it's Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. A lot of Optimi on this list, hey? But how can you argue with this, honestly? When it was first announced, I was very skeptical. I thought they were just going to take the Earthrise mold, which is great. There's an argument for the Earthrise being an ideal version of Optimus as well. And a lot of people have opted to keep that Optimus because it is more affordable. Let's be realistic. But I thought that they were just going to take that mold and they were going to throw in some doodads and they were going to release it as a commander class. They didn't. Whole new mold. The only criticism really that I could possibly levy is the chest is a little bit flatter than I thought it was going to be. But since it's the real chest of the truck, I'm okay with it. And I would have liked, honestly, to, you know, have had some paint in here. I still got to paint that. I'll probably add to that. I think that the head sculpt is ideal. I know that there's a 3D printed one that people have been getting that can look up a bit more and they say that's more animation accurate. I don't think it is because with every Optimus head that I've ever seen, I've had the same gripe, I suppose, that in the cartoon the brim over his eyes is more rounded than it is kind of squared off, so to speak. And this one has the rounded brim. I feel like that this jumped off of the cartoon screen. That said, I did put the huge ion cannon. This is a resin cast, courtesy of our buddy Dragonfly. I used that from the Centurion pack because I think it fits the size of this guy better. Ironically, I think his ion blaster actually fits the Earthrise Optimus better. But the trailer, the blast effects, the axe that plugs in instead of just going down over his fist, roller. I mean, all of the bits and pieces are there. The, I guess, overall look and coloration, it's all where it's supposed to be. It's all the right color. It's all the right shade, really. And even the way that they were able to accomplish folding the tires into the leg, because we always see the tires on his lower leg. We don't here because in the cartoon, they disappeared. It's almost like voodoo to get that done. But you know what? It really, really works. I do wish that the gray used on the hips was white, like the rest of the, like, thighs and, like, hip flaps and stuff. But, man, what a small gripe. Some people have also said, hey, there's a backpack here. My understanding is this is deliberate because it's meant to mimic when he's wearing Sideswipe's backpack in that episode where he took off. Even though that's not in the 86 movie, I get it. I would rather him have this type of compressed backpack than a hollow open back. So I'm okay with it. The articulation second to none. The proportions of the arms are always what I've wanted, with a smaller shoulder and a longer bicep. I like that these can move because I feel like there's less a chance of breakage. Though a couple of people have reported breakage with these and said theirs are really tight. Mine aren't. Mine, I think, are tolerance just right. They're not too loose and they're not too tight. Yeah, this guy astonished me. And to boot, when you measure his mass, it is an actual commander class. The engineering, the look, the mass, the everything just screams Optimus Prime. And for 2024, it screams #1 Transformer. And that's it, 10 down to 1 once again, my friends. Other ones that had some votes here include the 40th anniversary G1 Walmart release, where it's the G1 but in animation accurate colors. Legacy United Windblade had some votes. Ruckus. Metal Hawk. I love Metal Hawk. Cyan Culture, Metroplex, the comic book version of 86 Grimlock, Cybertron Starscream, Fans Toys, Acoustic Wave. What else do we have here? Gamer Edition Ratchet. The reissue of Siege Jetfire. I allowed it, even though it was Siege from 2019, because it was reissued. Roboson Megatron, Transformers 1 Sentinel Prime, Origins Wheeljack. I love Origins Wheeljack. Got that from our buddy Ultra Megatronus. Shard, Transformers Prime Cliff Jumper. Hashtag, Earthspark hashtag, specifically the Takara one. Tidal Wave had votes. I'm surprised Tidal Wave didn't rank. Magnius, and let's say Silverbolt, and the Orion packs from the Fractured Friendship 2-pack. Them and even more. a really, really strong year. Let me know if your favorites made the list or not. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through spring, or of course, hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you are at it, hit the subscribe button. Stick around, man. Have some fun with us here on the channel. And don't forget, not for a moment, not for a second, that you right there, you do make a difference in the world. And I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, right here, inside the videos. Okay, now I gotta do those.